Greetings adult collectors, I am Crash the Customizer. Welcome to another custom Transformers showcase. This is my custom Transformers animated robot mode, Sari. This figure is made from the Transformers Legacy Iguanus figure. And I'm not the first person to use this mold, I've seen other people use this as well. But, of course I added my own touches, like I added my typical posable hands. And I could only use 3 fingers because of the size of this figure, but she at least has posable hands. You can have her pointer, you can have closed fists. And then the little like chest section here, I took this little transparent round stud and then I got these little sections here that came from the Transformers 1 Optimus Prime. It was like the Matrix of Leadership. And I just cut those off and then glued them right here to kind of create that little details she had on our chest. And then these little spike things here came from the head of the Studio Series Bumblebee movie Shockwave. I just basically glued those on there as these little pieces like this. It allows me those little like pieces I use to make all the opposable hands. Just this little piece right here so that you can actually move this around. And obviously, for the actual look of Sari, she didn't have these wheels sticking off, but that's about the only way you can actually give her an alt mode, even though she never had one in the show. I still decided to kind of give her one. But if you want a more show-accurate look, go ahead and take this piece off, and then these are just on ball joints, so you can just pop them right off. Just pop this section off, and then pop off this one. And then now she has a little more of a show accurate look. You can just kind of bring these down a little more. Now she looks kind of more like she looks on the show. The head here is made from one of these Mega Mini figures. This came from the Ninjago line. It came with this little face mask thing. I just painted the eyes with some blue. And then I took a Lego helmet piece, put it back, create the little helmet shape. And then I made these little sections here with some Play-Doh to kind of create this little side section, the little mouth plate, and then the little spikes up here like that. And then I put a little glue on the inside of here, so that way it can fit onto this little Lego bar piece that I glued in to where the ball joint originally was, so it would actually be able to stick on this head here, or you can take her head from my other one, and you can have her unmasked. Because I just uses the same kind of connection because of the size of this. Now go ahead and pop these little pieces back on. So I just basically take this one, pop it back on like this. Pop this one back on here. Came apart, let's put that back together. So now we'll go ahead and bring in some comparisons. So here she is with her human self. Here she is with her best friends, Bumblebee and Bulkhead. Here she is with Optimus and Ratchet. Here she is with Prowl. And here she is with the whole team. And that looks pretty cool. Here she is with her father, Professor Isaac Sumdac. Here she is with her former toy and worst enemy, Soundwave. And here she is with all the Decepticons. So she does have a few accessories. So you can take these, which are from the Transformers Legacy Prime RC. You can just basically peg them into here, which actually doesn't actually have a port, but it just actually fits perfectly in this. I see somebody else do this, and that's actually pretty smart. So you can actually take these, and it kind of replicates the little blade weapon she had in the show. So you can kind of get her in some poses here. Looks like she's ready to fight here. I also made this to kind of replicate the little energy she shoots out. And this is just one of the new Lego transparent ball pieces. And then I just attach a little transparent round stud. And you just basically peg it onto this little section here of her hand. They kind of replicate like she looks like she's actually like holding it here. I kind of just basically take this, stick it on there like this, And then I like to kind of, I like to kind of take the fingers and basically like bend them like this so they're kind of like barely hanging on. So it kind of looks like she's like holding it. So like she's ready to fire out some energy. Now to get Sari into her alt mode, first thing we need to do, we need to take this section off. And separate this from here. And we're just going to go ahead and peg this into this little section right here. So basically creates this little thing here, which also can technically be used as a weapon. You can just basically just stick this on there, and she's got some little like shield, or I guess these could almost be like little grabbing claws or something. So she could like basically grab Prowl's leg. I don't know. I mean, it's something you could do, I guess. But anyway, so then next thing we need to do is we need to take the little back sections of the wheels and basically just rotate them around like this. You basically want them to kind of be in this little configuration. And we'll take her arms and they will tab into these little sections of the arms here, or the back of the shoulders here. And this, so you gotta try to line it up, which can be a little tricky to see. So it's so small. Here we go. Rotate her hands, or rotate his arms. Then we basically will collapse her thumb up, collapse down the fingers, and then just peg into a little section right here. Do the same with this one. Rotate the arm, peg that to a little peg, and then peg this section in, bring down the thumb, bring down the fingers, and just try to get it as even as possible, which can be a little tricky because they don't really peg in it quite like they did, since I, of course, added some parts and kind of doesn't want to work perfectly because of this little section here I added, but you kind of get to halfway work. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate the waist around here. And then we rotate our legs, so they face like this. Rotate the legs. Rotate the other leg. Then we basically will flip down her foot. It just folds down like this. And then do that other side. And it will peg into this little section here. Let's go ahead and peg that in. And of course, originally there was this tail piece that would have tabbed in right here, but of course I took that off. Next thing we need to do is just take this little section here, flip these down so it creates handlebars, and then this will peg in to the little stud right here. Just line it up, and it would just peg right into place, covering up her head and creating the front of the bike. Now obviously we never actually saw her transform into this in the show because she actually didn't have an alt mode. She did have like a scooter she rode around that became a jetpack, but obviously this is not really much like that. But I had to kind of work with something to at least give her some kind of alt mode. So this is kind of what she's got, and you can't actually technically have her ride herself. You just basically bend down her legs, rotate her hands around. Now we have Sari riding herself, which is kind of weird and obviously not technically possible, unless of course her is doing what Prowl and RC did and make a projection of herself. She doesn't look like a bike just driving around. Maybe. I mean, who knows? And of course we can actually have Professor Sumdac riding her as well. Just basically do pretty much the same thing. Just kind of get him in a sitting position. Just basically put his hands on the handlebars. And now I have her being rode by her father. I mean, you can do it. Looks a little weird, but you can definitely do it. So for comparison in vehicle mode, Here she is with Bulkhead and Bumblebee. Here she is with Optimus and Ratchet. And here she is with Prowl. And just because, here she is with Soundwave. So now to get Sari back into her robot mode, first thing we need to do is just take this section off. Let's go ahead and separate this. Take the handlebars, push them up like this. Then we're going to unpeg her arms. Go ahead and unpeg her legs. And then just bring the leg down, rotate it around this way. Bring it down, rotate it around. Rotate her feet around. Just kind of lift them up like this. Go ahead and rotate her waist. Then take this, fold it up like that. Fold this one back like this. Rotate her arms, bring them down. Rotate her arms, bring them down. Flip down her fingers, flip down her thumb. Then for the finishing touches, take this piece here, peg it in this section right here. And then take this assembly here, just basically stick it back here. And now we have Sari back into her robot mode. I really like how this one turned out. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do this, given the fact that you never actually had an alt mode, and of course finding the right mold. Except not the first person to use this mold, obviously, but it is a mold that works really well. And it really does kind of capture the look of Sari, and of course once you make the little molded head. So that's pretty much it for this video. So if you like this, be sure to check out the description, where you'll find a link to all of my other animated customs. There'll also be a link that will take you to all of my Transformers Prime customs, which I will be resuming next week. Along with a link that will take you to my stop motion channel, which is currently just a bunch of random stop motions. But I'm hoping to at some point have a stop motion series on the channel, so be sure to check that out. You can subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any future customs. Until next time, this is Crash the Customizer out.